And then my number 2 is going to be Kyogre, Groudon, and Raikou. And I'm going to tell you why these guys are some of the best top 3 choices. And by the way, these 3 choices are pretty much always going to be for either the Ultra League or the Master League. So for the Great League, we can use a lot of different Pokemon, and we'll get into that in another video, but that is the second one. And hopping on to the second round of really effective, well-balanced battle parties, I think you guys are kind of getting the idea now of how we're setting these up so that you can have well-roundedness, and if somebody brings out a really effective counter against you, you already have that really effective counter to that Pokemon of some of the top Pokemon that are going to be used here. So you're not going to want to just go in with a party of 3 Tyranitars, because if somebody has 2 Machamps in there or 2 different fighting Pokemon, right, it's going to really take you down. So this Kyogre here is also a beast. Same with the Groudon in this party at a max CP of 4115. Big attack, solid defense, best stamina, best water type in the game right now, with a total weave DPS of 2279. So his weaknesses are going to be grass and electric, and he's going to be resistance to fire, ice, steel, and water. And so at a minimum IV, which we can't even get these guys at level 15, you would not even qualify for the Great League. So this is going to be an Ultra and a Master League recommendation here. The best moveset for Kyogre, obviously he's only got 1 fast move, so we really only have 1 option there, which is going to be Waterfall. Extremely effective. We're also going to want to have a 1 move as the Hydro Pump, obviously, because he is stab effective with this, with a weave DPS of 2279. So that is solid. And then my second one is a tight between Blizzard and Thunder. For myself, I am just going to say Blizzard, because people are going to be using Dragonite. So if you bump out a Kyogre with a Waterfall Blizzard combination and they just switch to a Dragonite, you are going to have an extreme upper hand on that Dragonite with that Blizzard move, because not only can Kyogre deliver a lot of damage with a weave DPS on that Blizzard of 2033, but it also can really do some great damage against a Dragonite, just because, you know, that Dragonites are weak to the ice. So if we look here, we're going to say, okay, we're using Kyogre, which is straight water. What are his weaknesses going to be? We're looking at number 1, Deoxys in the attack form. Then we're looking at Raikou, hence the reason Raikou is sitting in our party. We're looking at Electivire, Zapdos, Magnezone, Luxray. So when we're looking at these guys, this is how we're figuring out what the most well-rounded party is. And the second Pokemon in this party is going to be Groudon at the same stats as the Kyogre with a max CP of 4115. Weakness to water, ice, grass, right? So right there holds the other very potent reason why we're going to put ice on this, because not only can we use the water against the Groudon, which we would obviously use that, but there's potential to have other weaknesses such as the ice. So the Kyogre and the Groudon are well balanced and balancing out each other's weaknesses, and you're starting to get the hint of what's going on here. So his resistance is going to be to electric, poison, rock. So he is resistant to those. He's not going to take, and then everything else he's going to take neutral damage from. And once again, we cannot get him at a level 15, and that wouldn't even put him in the Great League, and we can't catch them in the wild. So level 20, we're going to be an Ultra and Master League Pokemon. And then his movesets, I am going to recommend doing a Mud Shot as the stab effectiveness. You know, you could also use this guy with a Dragon Tail, which would put you at a Dragon weakness if somebody's busting out a Dragonite and you didn't want to have a Dragon in your party, or you didn't want to put that Ice move on the Kyogre because you'd rather have the Dragon move on the Groudon. So that is a potential. So we're going to do Mudshot Earthquake as 1 move at a total weave DPS of 2077, getting that stab effectiveness. And then I would also recommend putting on the Solar Beam. Solar Beam is extremely dominant move. One of his weaknesses is to grass. We can have the Solar Beam, which is going to be effective against some water Pokemon. You can also use the Fire Blast to cover against the grass weakness too, but grass is usually somewhat weak to itself. So that is going to do a decent amount of damage. I'm probably going to stick with that grass move. His counters, looky here, is a Kyogre, right? So you're starting to really see this pattern here. We have a Mammal Swine with ice coming in. We have the Sharpedo, Palkia, Attack Deoxys form, and the Glaceon sitting in there. And then the final Pokemon that we're going to recommend for this party is going to be Raikou, one of my favorite Pokemon at a max CP of 3452. Has a pretty good attack, decent defense, stamina is there. The only weakness he has is to, can you guess it, going to be ground. And that is why we have the Groudon in there, because if somebody's using a Raikou out there, right, so we're looking at all these Pokemon, and if somebody were to using some of the common Pokemon, we're covering all of the weaknesses to these Pokemon with the other Pokemon in our party. So these are really well balanced, very thought out parties by Matt Fitz, and I really like this. And he's also going to be resistant, or he's going to do more damage to electric, flying, and steel Pokemon. The other thing I did want to point out is, since Raikou is in the research box right now and you have the chance to get the special breakthrough with a Raikou, you can get him at a level 15, which means even at a 100% IV of 1479, you're able to put him in a great league. So with that research box, it's really taking these legendaries and putting them into an effective place to be able to fight with them in the Great League. So although a lot of these other legendaries that haven't been in the special research box may not even qualify, some of these do, and you can incorporate. So this Raikou, although this whole entire party won't qualify, you can do this into that league. So checking this out here, we're going to do Thunder Shock and Wild Charge at a total Weave DPS of 2178. The other move, I mean, he's really only got a couple moves here, but I would do the Wild Charge, and I would also do the Thunderbolt just based on the Weave DPS. So this dude is straight electric. If he ever comes out with another moveset that would be an off-type moveset, it would make him even more powerful, which is why I think they may not have that out yet. And then looky here, who are the main counters? Garchomp, which is not out yet. But we have the Groudon, number 2, Rhyperior is number 3, Mamoswine is number 4, all with ground moves, ground. Those are going to be the top counters for the Raikou, which is why we have the Kyogre out there in case somebody is using one of these in this party. So that wraps up why that is the number 2 battle party, and the number 3 battle party is going to be Breloom, Tyranitar, and Moltres. And the reason why is... Alright guys, party number 3, we are getting right into it. We are going with Breloom starting as the first one, and a lot of people think that why would you use a Breloom, and we are going to check out exactly why we're using this grass and fighting type Pokemon with a max CP of 2628, pretty solid attack, a little bit lower on the defense and stamina, but Breloom's got some pretty unique abilities, and we're going to show you why. So he has a weakness to Flying, Psychic, Poison, Ice, Fire, and Fairy, and then he shows resistance to Dark, Electric, Grass, Ground, Rock, and Water. I just want to point out that he is double weak to Flying. So his movesets that we are going to start with, we're going to do Counter, Dynamic Punch with a solid Weave DPS of 2292. So those are going to be the movesets that I'm going to recommend. And then the other part that I am also going to recommend is that we go ahead and we use the Seed Bomb, which is going to be his grass move. So he's getting stab effectiveness on both of those. But another cool thing is that he actually gets poison moves too. If we look here at the top weaknesses, we're going to see that Moltres is his number 1 weakness. And we have Moltres in the party because Moltres is fire and flying. And actually the sky attack on the Moltres is going to be why and what we're going to use. So Breloom is going to be super effective here as far as covering for the Tyranitar, right? Because there's a big speculation that a lot of people are going to be using Tyranitars, especially people that may not know exactly about all the typings. They're just going to use these monster CP Pokemon, and Tyranitar and Mewtwo are going to be one of each of those. So we're going to want to have a counters in there, but in order to cover our weaknesses here, we are going to have this. If we think about it, Tyranitar is weak to fighting, right? So we have that Breloom. He's also weak to grass, so we have the Breloom, right? So he's able to do that. And Tyranitar is going to be solid against Mewtwo. So I really think that a lot of people, especially in the Master League, are going to be using a lot of Mewtwo's, which doesn't really surprise anybody. But if we have a Tyranitar in our party, which is why he's in a couple of these parties, we are going to be able to counter that, and we're going to be able to do a good amount of damage. And he's also going to be resistant to flying, so any type of legendary bird that we have going on, we are going to be able to use this Tyranitar to be a little bit resistant to and show some resiliency here. And on the Tyranitar weakness chart, we are going to have a Breloom at number 2. So if you want more information on the Tyranitar, go ahead and check out the first video that we did. I go into way more depth as far as why T-Tar is going to be part of the parties. So then we're going to go on to the Moltres, and Moltres, with the little bit of bump that we got, has went up in max CP to 3465. I actually really like to fight with Moltres. His attack is extremely fast, and he's a pretty solid attacking Pokemon. I really enjoy him. So if you have the Sky attack, which is then going to allow you to have the overheat. So his weaknesses are going to be rock, water, and electric. He's actually double weak to rock. And with that Smackdown, Stone Edge, Tyranitar that I recommend that you have in your parties, you're going to be countering a lot of these flying guys, and you're going to be able to use that moveset to really do some damage. So he doesn't have a tremendous amount of weaknesses, but that rock, he's double weak to. So that's really why you want that Tyranitar in your party to counteract any of the other Pokemon. So he's going to be resistant to bug, grass, fairy, fighting, fire, ground, and steel. So Moltres is going to do a lot of damage, and Moltres is going to be a pretty solid Pokemon for using against Metagross because he is able to do a lot of damage, and he's a very fast attacker. With the research tasks that are out right now and that we've had in the past, you're able to get him at a 1485 max CP, 1300 minimum, which we don't get minimums, but if you trade, you could get him even lower than the minimum that we can catch him at. So you're able to use him in the Great League, which is a big advantage to a lot of people. And so for Moltres, if you have that Fire Spin Sky attack, we're looking at a weave DPS of 2368, which is pretty high. And then we also have another weave DPS for the Fire Spin Overheat at 2360. So if you have the Sky Attack Fire Spin Moltres, and then you go ahead and unlock the second move and you're able to add in the Overheat, this is going to be extremely effective. We're going to well round out this party. I really honestly like Moltres for his quickness of his attack, and then boom, look at that. His number 2 weakness is going to be Tyranitar. So that's why we're using these 3 Pokemon in this party, because the Breloom is going to counter the Tyranitar is going to counter the Moltres, and the Moltres is going to counter the Breloom. So that is how we're well rounding these parties, because the number 1 weaknesses are actually going to be covered here. So if somebody has one of those Pokemon in their party, when you pull out one of these Pokemon, you can then pull out their counter, so you can have this well-rounded party that will be able to protect you when you're able to switch Pokemon in doing these battles. So thank you for tuning in for the round 2 of 3 for my battle parties. I cannot wait to show you the next ones. They are super efficient, very well thought out, and I really like battle party number 5 just because of the diverse ability and the ability to really do damage and to cover your weaknesses.